Thanks to Ubisoft for providing me access to the game. The most recent Hoonigan update has changed a lot with this game when it comes to legendary parts farming, and so we have new methods that you need to use in order to maximize your legendary parts per hour. In this video, I've got methods for you for road vehicles, off-road vehicles, and then boats and planes. This is the ultimate guide to legendary parts after the Hoonigan update. Let's go! Real quick before I get into the video, if you're looking for any of my Motorfest tunes or my Need for Speed Heat builds, I've moved everything to my website. It's militiagamingco.com. There's links in the main navigation menu for Need for Speed Heat builds and Motorfest Pro settings, so click those if you're looking for that. The link to the site is actually in the description of this video. Alright, enjoy. Alright, first we need to talk about what has changed. The biggest change is that you no longer receive parts for completing certain feats like you used to, like the super popular Peacock Flats escape. They removed the parts reward for that escape. It was short and easy, and it can be exploited by a macro, and now in order to earn parts for feats, you will need to complete the ones that require some sort of steering, either to avoid traffic, trees, or just stay on the road. In other words, you're talking about slaloms, bullseyes, and most of the escapes are still on the board. In addition to that, they also removed the reset on the Hummer event. This was also another popular parts farm, but you can no longer do it in that same amount of time. Now you can still use that event, and it does take about a minute and 30 seconds with a hypercar, but it's just not as good. You used to be able to do it in about a minute and 5 seconds with a hypercar, so this is just not as good as it used to be. Now this goes for anytime you're grinding legendary parts. You need to go to your legend points, which is located in your profile tab, then go to driver, then go to legend points, and make sure you max out the Goldfinger and Lucky legend points. You also need to max out Goldfinger and Lucky on all of the parts that you have. If you have green parts, obviously you can't do that, but if you're on purple or above, you need to go to the parts that you're using for each vehicle that you're grinding for and change all of the affixes to Lucky and Goldfinger. Make sure they're on the max percentage possible. You just need to do this if you're looking to get the max number of parts for your time. Let's start with the road vehicles first. So there are a couple of feats that you can use, and the easiest one that I could find was the Maca Kilo Escape, which is in the American Muscle playlist. It takes about 12 seconds to complete in an Alpha GP car that doesn't have any upgrades on it, and it rewards you with one part, 1320 XP and 2250 bucks. If you're just grinding that for an entire hour, you're looking at somewhere around 220 parts, which usually nets you something like 20 to 30 legendaries. If you don't want to grind an escape for hours, and I don't blame you, you can actually get something close to that using the Kiss Me Combi playlist race. This is one that we've used as a community in the past, but I did some new calculations on it, and it actually rewards pretty well. It's in the vintage playlist, and it gives you about 4 to 5 parts per run, which takes about 1 minute and 30 seconds in a hypercar. Obviously it's slower on other classes and possibly faster on Alpha GP, I'm not really sure. That would be around 35 times that you could run this per hour if you account for loading screens, and that gets you 175 parts, which is usually around 15 to 20 legendaries. Alright, let's move on to the off-road categories. So for off-road vehicles, I strongly recommend Cunha Field's Escape. It's the shortest escape for off-road vehicles, and it rewards you with one part, 1320 XP and 2250 bucks. It takes around 14 seconds to complete, and you can run it around 3 to 4 times per minute, which gets you around 220 parts per hour. And again, you'll get something like 20 to 30 legendary parts. Now, again, if you don't want to do a feat over and over again, there is a race that I recommend. It's called Friday Night Rides. It's in the Off-Roading Addict playlist, and it takes you about 1 minute and 40 seconds to complete on average. Once you dial in your routes, and this is important because the route for this race is crazy and lots of jumps and bumps, and just run it a couple times, you'll find a route where you can get through it cleanly like I did in this video clip. It just takes a couple of runs, and then you'll get used to it, and then you're good for the rest of the time. You'll be completing this race in about 1 minute and 40 seconds, and you could do it a little faster, and sometimes it'll be a little slower, but that's a good average time to do our calculations with. So for this one, you get around 4 to 5 parts per race, and that gets you 175 parts an hour, which again is 15 to 20 legendaries. Lastly, let's talk about boats and planes. So up until now, I haven't grinded any parts for boats and planes. I've just gotten whatever I got from the playlists and whatever I've gotten from the grand races, and that's about it. But you're gonna need boats and planes coming up. They're gonna start start throwing these into the summits, especially the feats like buoy smashing or slaloms in a boat. That stuff is always in the Crew 2 summit feats, so they are definitely going to throw that stuff into this one eventually. So you're definitely going to need parts for these vehicles. Now, for your boats, I strongly recommend one of two feats. You can choose whichever one you like the best. Either the North Fork Kauka Nahua River Escape, which is in the Off-Road Attic playlist, or the Alawai Escape, which is in the Lamborghini playlist. Both of these can be completed in about 10 seconds, with about 4 seconds of a run-up to start the event after you reset. So you can complete them about 4 to 5 times per minute, which is around 300 parts an hour. Usually with that amount of parts, you'll get about 30 to 40 legendaries, and maybe more depending on your affixes and legend points. For planes, I strongly recommend the North Fork Escape again. Basically, what you're going to do here is fast travel to the feet, and then use the quick change to swap to a plane. For controller players, you're going to click the right stick down, then select the plane. I suggest using the P-51 Mustang as it's the fastest plane in the game. Then drive through the gate and start the event for the first time. Once you've done that, press the menu button and retry. That will start your plane at speed already. The trick with this one is you need to be flying low enough for the distance to count. But once you hit the objective, press the rewind button and it will stop you when you make contact with the red circle. At that time, you can just retry immediately and you will be at full speed again to run it over and over and over again. With this method and the Mustang, you can get about 6 parts per minute, which is around 330 to 350 parts per hour, because you're gonna have to like clear out your inventory a few times, and that takes a couple of minutes. And with that amount of parts, you are definitely going to see 30 to 40 legendaries. So within just a couple of hours, you should have a full set of legendaries, or maybe even a couple of sets. It's not going to be too hard, and it really doesn't take that much time. All right, that's it for this one, guys. Short and sweet guide. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions, please do send me a DM. My DMs are always open. And if you have your own methods that you've been using for grinding parts, please put it in the comments. That way you can help out other people in the community. Maybe my methods are not the fastest. I did as much testing as I had time for with the early access. So please, if you find a better method later, please put it in the comments and I will of course pin it to the top of these comments section. All right, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you on the next one. Trigger out.